Have you ever been called selfish by the very person you've been supporting for years? Yeah, I have, in front of 31 people. At Christmas dinner, by my own sister, the same sister whose car I've been paying for 3 years, whose bills I cover every month, whose perfect Instagram life I've been funding while eating instant noodles for dinner. She called me a leech, a mooch, said I was the one always asking her for money. And the worst part? The whole family believed her. My mom looked at me with disappointment. My dad shook his head, embarrassed. Aunts and cousins whispered among themselves, judging the irresponsible nurse who supposedly couldn't handle her own finances. But what they didn't know, what no one knew, was that for 7 years, I'd been this family's secret bank. $89,340. And I had the receipts. Every single one. My name is Cindy. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of how I lost my family and found my freedom. It's about that invisible line between helping someone and being used by them. About being the responsible daughter until you realize responsible was just another word for convenient. About working double shifts while your sister posts spa photos. About needing surgery and hearing you're on your own from the person you've rescued financially a dozen times. And it's about that moment, that terrifying, liberating moment, when you finally lay all your cards on the table. Literally, 47 pages of receipts. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've given until there was nothing left and still got called selfish, if you've ever asked yourself, when is it my turn? This story is for you. Because sometimes, revenge isn't about destroying anyone. It's about finally stopping the destruction of yourself for people who never valued you. Stay with me till the end, because what happened at that Christmas dinner changed everything. And what I found out afterward, about family, about money, about myself, might just change you too. Hit play. You need to hear this. My name is Cindy. I'm 34 years old, and for a long time I believed being the responsible daughter was a reward. You know that person in the family who always fixes everything? Who never asks for anything but is always available when someone needs help? That was me. I work as a neonatal ICU nurse, taking care of premature babies who weigh less than a bag of sugar. It's a job that requires precision, patience, and a heart strong enough to witness struggle every single day. I drove a 2015 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles on it, lived in a one-bedroom apartment with secondhand furniture, and cut my own hair to save money. Not because I earned too little, but because my money always had somewhere else to go, though I didn't fully understand where. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't the responsible daughter. I was the convenient one. My younger sister, Cassidy, has always been my opposite. She's 29, married to Jake since high school, has 2 beautiful kids, Emma, 6, and Noah, 4. And doesn't work outside the home. Being a full-time mom is an honorable job. I've always respected that. The problem wasn't that she didn't work. It was how she lived. Her Instagram looked like a magazine catalog. Professional photos every season, nails always done, Starbucks every day, designer diaper bags, weekends at wineries, new clothes every week. That kind of life that makes you wonder, how does she afford that? Meanwhile, I brought leftover lunches to work and wore the same sneakers for 3 years. The difference between us wasn't just lifestyle. It was treatment. Cassidy was the golden child, the beloved one who gave my parents grandchildren. Growing up as the strong one in the family sounds like a compliment, but it's a trap. When Cassidy turned 16, she got a brand new car. When I turned 16, I got a happy birthday and the reassurance that I'd figure it out on my own. And I did. I bought my first car at 22, used and noisy. Her college was fully paid for. Mine turned into $38,000 in student loans I'm still paying off. I never complained, you know? I thought that was normal, that every kid had their role. She was the one who needed care. I was the one who gave it. Simple as that. But there's a fine line between caring and being used. And I spent years not realizing I had crossed it long ago. The revenge I didn't even know I was building began the day I accepted being invisible. It all started 7 years ago, in October 2018. Cassidy called me crying. The kind of desperate new mom sob that breaks your heart. "Cindy, I'm at Target with Emma. My card got declined. I just need diapers and formula. Can you Venmo me $200? Jake gets paid Friday. I'll pay you back." I didn't even think twice. I sent her $247 to cover the diapers, formula, and the rest of her shopping. Friday came and went. No payment. I didn't bring it up. She's my sister. Family helps family, right? Wrong. What I didn't know was that the moment at Target wasn't an emergency. It was a test. And I passed with flying colors. From that day on, I became her automatic solution to every financial problem. Then came the electric bill. Just $120, Cindy. Just this once. Then the car payment, $380 for this month. I swear I'll pay you. Then Emma's dentist, $450 for a filling. I can't let my daughter be in pain. And it went on and on. My parents joined in too. "Cindy, can you cover our internet? It's just $85. "Cindy, your dad got a parking ticket, $200. Can you help?" Always, "Just this once." Always, "We'll pay you back." They never did. I started picking up double shifts, canceled vacations 4 years in a row, wore a uniform with holes because I couldn't afford a new one. Meanwhile, Cassidy was posting pictures of her new SUV, the one I was paying for. The irony stung so hard it was almost funny. Here's the detail that changed everything. I kept records of every transaction, every cent. I'm meticulous by nature. When you care for 2-pound babies, you can't afford a single dosage mistake, so you document everything. I made an Excel spreadsheet. Date, person, amount, reason. At first, I told myself it was just to keep track of who owed me what. But deep down, I think I already knew. I was documenting my own exploitation. 7 years, $89,340. Cassidy alone, $52,800. My parents, $28,200. Uncle Roger, the family drunk, $5,100. Cousin April, $3,240. While I was building invisible wealth for everyone else, my savings account had $200 in it. I should have had over $90,000 saved. Instead, my account was nearly empty, and my car made a weird noise every time I turned left. But I stayed quiet. Because that's what good daughters do, right? They bleed in silence. 3 weeks before Christmas, my body decided it had had enough. I started feeling this sharp pain on my right side, the kind that takes your breath away and makes you break out in a cold sweat. I ignored it for an entire week because I had shifts to cover, bills to pay. Ironically, not mine, but everyone else's. When I finally went to the ER, the diagnosis came quickly: an inflamed gallbladder. I needed surgery. The doctor said it like it was no big deal, but for me, nothing was simple. My insurance deductible was $4,800, and I had $200 in the bank. I was short $3,600 that I simply didn't have. For the first time in 7 years, I needed to ask for help. And you know what's funny? I felt guilty about it, like needing surgery was some kind of personal failure. But revenge sometimes begins when you finally ask for the very thing you've been giving all along. I called Cassidy with shaking hands. I had never asked her for money, not once in 7 years of being her personal bank. "Cass, I need surgery. I'm $3,600 short. Can you lend me $2,000? I'll pay you back $500 a month. It'll be done in 4 months. Silence on the other end. That heavy silence that lasts 3 seconds, but feels like 3 hours. Then she laughed. Not a happy laugh, but that annoyed, fake laugh people use to cover irritation. "Cindy, I have 2 kids. You just have... you. You're a nurse. You make good money. Figure it out." Then she hung up on me. I just sat there in the hospital waiting room, staring at my phone like it might explode. Those words echoed in my head. You just have you. As if I mattered less because I didn't have kids. As if my pain was optional because I was alone. I took a deep breath and called my parents. My mom answered all cheerful. "Hi, sweetheart." And I explained everything. The surgery, the money, the panic. She went quiet, then sighed. That kind of sigh moms give when they're about to say no, but want to sound like it hurts them too. "Oh, honey, we'd love to help, but we just gave Cassidy $2,000 for Christmas shopping. You know how it is. Kids are expensive, but you'll figure it out, right?" You're so independent." My dad got on the phone. I mentioned the loans I'd given them over the years, probably around $28,000. He got irritated. "Cindy, that was years ago. We don't hold grudges. Family isn't about keeping score." But they knew exactly how much they'd given Cassidy. They just didn't count what I had given. Family math works like this. What you give is an obligation. What you ask for is a burden. I put the surgery on my credit card. 22% annual interest. I had the procedure done on a Tuesday. My coworker Sarah drove me home. I spent 3 days alone in my apartment, eating soup from a mug, watching Netflix, trying not to move because every movement hurt. Cassidy didn't text. My parents didn't call. No one asked how it went. But you know what did happen that week? Cassidy posted on Instagram from a spa with her friends. Nails, massage, mimosas. Those now, self-care now, blessed now, mom life hashtags. I stared at that picture, and something inside me cracked. It wasn't instant rage. It was more like seeing a tiny crack in the wall, and knowing the whole house is about to collapse. I realized I wasn't a daughter or a sister. I was a resource. An emotional and financial ATM that only mattered when I had a balance. Lying there in bed, hurting, alone, in debt for a surgery I never wanted, I made a decision. Enough. No more loans, no more emergencies, no more, just this once. The Bank of Cindy was officially closed. I didn't tell anyone, didn't make some dramatic announcement. I just decided that next time someone asked, I'd say no. Simple as that. 2 months earlier, I would have called that selfish. Now I understood. It wasn't selfishness. It was survival. There's a difference between helping someone stand up and letting them step on you to stay upright. I'd spent 7 years being stepped on, believing it was love. But love doesn't leave you alone in a hospital. Love doesn't hang up on you when you're bleeding. Real revenge doesn't always need a master plan. Sometimes it's just deciding your dignity is worth more than approval from people who never valued you. I didn't have to wait long. I knew an emergency would pop up. It always did. The cycle was as predictable as a full moon. And I was right. The difference this time was that I had a 47-page spreadsheet tucked in my drawer. Every transaction, every date, every cent. I didn't know yet that I'd use it. But something told me the universe always collects its debts. And when it came time for my family to pay theirs, I'd have every receipt neatly organized in alphabetical order. Because when you spend years being invisible, the moment you finally become visible, you need proof that you were always there. And I had proof. 89,340 pieces of it to be exact. Christmas was coming, and I had no idea that dinner would change everything. But I already had the ammunition. All I needed was someone to pull the trigger. Christmas Eve. My parents always host a big dinner, house full, everyone together, 31 people this year. Aunts, uncles, cousins, kids running around, that organized chaos people call tradition. I showed up with a $15 bottle of wine and homemade cookies. That's all I could afford after putting surgery on my credit card. Cassidy arrived half an hour later, and I saw her from across the room. New dress from Nordstrom, $180. I recognized it because I'd seen it online while looking for work clothes, and gave up when I saw the price. Freshly highlighted hair, perfect blonde streaks, flawless gel nails. She carried Target shopping bags, announcing loudly so everyone could hear, "Guys, I just finished my last-minute shopping." Everyone laughed, thought it was cute. I looked at her and thought, I paid your car payment this month, paid it last month too. Actually, I've been paying it for 3 years. But no one knew that. So she was the perfect mom, and I was just the aunt who brought cheap wine. Dinner started like always. Turkey, mashed potatoes, that over-the-top holiday spread that looked straight out of a butter commercial. Everyone talking, laughing, kids screaming. I was quiet, still sore from surgery, but not saying anything. Because complaining would have been being dramatic, right? My Aunt Carol asked how work was. I said, good. Then she asked if I was traveling for the holidays. No, just saving money right now. Simple, honest answer. That's when Cassidy, across the table, said loudly, one of those comments meant for the audience, not for you. Cindy, you're always saving money. You never do anything fun. What are you even saving for? Light laughter followed. That awkward kind when someone says something rude and everyone laughs to smooth it over. I forced a smile. Didn't answer, but my stomach tightened. She was opening a door I didn't know existed. Then my Uncle Roger, the same one who owes me $5,100 from a business investment that never happened, decided to chime in. Yeah, Cindy, you make good money as a nurse. You should enjoy life a little. He was already tipsy, talking loud, gesturing. Now everyone was looking at me. I felt my face heat up, but I stayed silent. And then Cassidy dropped the bomb. Honestly, guys, Cindy's weird about money. She's always asking people for loans and then acting broke. I don't know where her money goes, but it's definitely not toward anything productive. Silence. That heavy, shocked kind of silence where no one knows whether to laugh, agree, or change the subject. My cousin April widened her eyes. Really? And Cassidy, totally confident, nodded. Really. Last month she asked me for $2,000. I have kids to feed. I can't keep supporting my older sister. Now everyone was staring at me. Not with curiosity, with judgment. My mom had that disappointed look. My dad looked uncomfortable but didn't defend me. Uncle Roger, the drunk I'd funded for years, shook his head. That's rough, Cindy. Nurses make like $80,000 a year. You've got to learn to budget. Cassidy kept going, now with this fake concerned tone, like she cared. I don't know if it's a shopping addiction or bad management, but it's serious. She never has money, but she earns plenty. Where does it all go? People started whispering, side-eye glances, live gossip in real time. Someone muttered, "Probably has hidden debt." Another said, "Maybe gambling." I just sat there, frozen, feeling my world crumble brick by brick. That was their revenge. Public humiliation because I'd dared to ask for help once. Once in 7 years, and suddenly I was the villain. My mom finally spoke, and what she said was worse than silence. "Cindy, is that true? Have you been asking your sister for money? Not, are you okay? Not, what happened?" Just accusation. I tried to speak, but my throat closed up. The words wouldn't come. I managed to whisper, "I needed surgery," but my voice disappeared under the noise of the table. No one heard, or they pretended not to. Cassidy kept talking. "See? There's always an excuse, always an emergency, but never any savings. It's irresponsible." My dad sighed deeply, like he was disappointed. "Cindy, we raised you better than that. You need to live within your means." Within my means. I wanted to scream, "You are my means," but no sound came out. All I could hear was my heart pounding in my ears, that buzzing roar of pure humiliation. I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. Sharp, loud. Everyone stopped talking and looked at me. "Excuse me," was all I managed to say. My voice shook. I walked to the door, feeling 31 pairs of eyes follow me. I stepped outside, the cold December air hitting my burning face. I walked to my old car, the noisy Honda that should have been replaced 3 years ago but couldn't be, because I was paying for my sister's SUV. I sat in the driver's seat and tried to put the key in the ignition. My hands were shaking so hard it fell to the floor. When I bent down to pick it up, I saw it in the glove compartment, the purple folder. My important documents folder. Birth certificate, insurance papers, vaccination record. And right there in the middle, stapled and organized, 47 pages of truth. My spreadsheet. Every cent, every date, every "I'll pay you back" lie. I grabbed the folder, took a deep breath, and something inside me shifted. It wasn't shame anymore. It was clarity. I walked back into that house holding the purple folder like it was a shield. My steps were steady now, not shaky like when I'd left. The table was still buzzing, everyone gossiping about me. I caught fragments. "She's always been a little weird. She must have issues we don't know about." Poor Cassidy, having to deal with that. When I opened the door, silence sliced through the room like a knife. 31 pairs of eyes turned to me again. But this time I didn't look away. I walked straight toward Cassidy, who wore that smug, victorious look. almost smiling. I placed the folder in front of her plate, slowly, so it landed with a heavy thud. "You want to know where my money goes? Open it." My voice sounded different. Not the small Cindy anymore, but someone else. Cassidy looked at the folder like it was a bomb. "What is this?" she asked, trying to sound casual, but her voice cracked. "Open it," I repeated. And this time, it wasn't a request. It was an order. She opened it. The first page was the index: name, date, amount, description. Her face started to lose color. I turned the page for her and began reading out loud, clear and steady, like I do when reading medication dosages at the hospital. Because when something matters, you don't miss a comma. March 2019, Cassidy, car payment, $380. I turned the page. June 2019, Cassidy, Emma's dentist bill, $450. Another page. September 2019, Cassidy, late electric bill, $230. The room went dead silent. Even the kids stopped making noise. I kept going. November 2019, Cassidy, Target emergency, $310. Every word landed like a hammer. And I felt something I'd never felt before. It wasn't anger. It was justice. Revenge doesn't need to be screamed. Sometimes it's whispered, calmly, so everyone can hear it. I turned more pages, read more transactions. January 2020, Mom and Dad, internet bill, $85. I looked at my parents. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father's face was white. March 2020, Cassidy, car insurance, $290. July 2020, Cassidy, Noah's swimming lessons, $200. Her voice trembled. "Cindy, stop it." But I didn't. April 2021, Uncle Roger, business loan, $2,000. Uncle Roger, the one who'd just called me irresponsible 5 minutes ago, lowered his head. June 2021, Cassidy, Noah's birthday party, $380. October 2021, Cassidy, car payment, $380. Each entry was a stone thrown into a lake of lies, and the ripples were finally reaching shore. No one could meet my eyes now, except Cassidy, who was crying, mascara running, her perfect image cracking wide open. I reached the last page, the summary. I flipped it over like a lawyer revealing final evidence, holding it up for everyone to see. In bold red letters, centered, total paid, $89,340. I let the number hang in the air for 5 long seconds. Then I spoke, looking straight at Cassidy. "You asked where my money goes? It goes to you. It's been going to you for 7 years. While you post your perfect life on Instagram, I eat ramen for dinner and drive a car that makes weird noises because I can't afford to fix it. You know why? Because I'm paying for your car." I turned to my parents. My voice didn't even shake. "Mom, Dad, $28,200. That's what I gave you. When I needed $2,000 for surgery. You said you'd just given money to Cassidy for Christmas shopping. Because her Christmas shopping mattered more than my inflamed gallbladder." My mother stood up, hysterical, her hands shaking. "You're destroying this family. On Christmas, in front of everyone." Her voice was shrill, desperate. I took a deep breath. "I'm destroying it? Me, the one who's funded your lives for 7 years while working double shifts? Me, the one who canceled vacations for 4 straight years because I couldn't afford them? Because I gave the money to you? I'm the one destroying it." Cassidy tried to speak, her voice cracking. "We were going to pay you back. You never asked." And that's when I lost my composure. "I did ask. I asked 3 weeks ago. $2,000 for surgery. And you told me I only had myself to blame. Remember? You hung up on me. Well, you're right, Cassidy. I do only have myself. And starting today, so do you." The silence that followed was the kind that hurts your ears. Heavy. Suffocating. Real. I took my folder back, pulled out a copy of the spreadsheet, because of course I had copies, and placed it on the table. "Merry Christmas. Consider this your gift. The truth." My mother was crying, one of those dramatic cries, and suddenly she screamed, with a fury I'd never seen before. "You're dead to me! Do you hear me? Dead!" The whole room froze. Even the kids went silent. I looked at her, and for the first time in my life, her rejection didn't hurt. It felt like freedom. That's fine, Mom. Because dead daughters don't pay bills. I turned around and walked to the door. No one followed. No one called my name. I got into my old car, started the engine, and this time, my hands didn't shake. I drove home through the quiet of Christmas night. And you know what's strange? For the first time in 7 years, I felt light. Because true revenge isn't about destroying anyone. It's about finally freeing yourself from the people who've been destroying you all along. That Christmas night, I did something I should have done years ago. I blocked everyone. Mom, Dad, Cassidy, uncles, cousins, 43 contacts deleted, blocked, erased from my life with the same precision I used to dispose of used needles at the hospital. It wasn't anger, it was hygiene. You know when you clean your house and throw away all those just-in-case things that only take up space? That's what it was. For 24 hours, absolute silence. My phone didn't ring once. I even checked if it was working. It was. They just didn't have the courage yet. But on Christmas morning, at 9 a.m., it started. 47 missed calls. I watched the notifications pile up, even blocked. The number climbing. 5, 10, 15, 20. It was almost funny, like watching someone knock on a door you've locked from the inside. They were desperate. But not to apologize. They were desperate because the bank had closed. Revenge is sometimes silent, and silence can scream louder than any words. My cousin April texted me from a number I hadn't blocked. "Cindy, you need to see this." She sent screenshots of a WhatsApp group, one I'd obviously been excluded from, called Thompson Family. I read the messages with that strange feeling of peeking through the keyhole of your own house. My mom. I can't believe she did this on Christmas. Aunt Linda. She's always been the family drama queen. Uncle Roger, the same Uncle Roger who still owed me $5,000, wrote, "Who keeps receipts for helping family? That's psycho behavior." Cassidy sent a voice note crying, "She made up half those numbers. I don't even remember asking for all that." My dad, ever the diplomat. "She embarrassed us in front of everyone." I read it all. Twice. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because they weren't denying the money. They were angry that I'd proved it. The most interesting thing was realizing none of them questioned the amounts. No one said, "That's wrong, I never borrowed that much." They were just mad that I'd told the truth. It's like a thief getting angry because there's a security camera. The issue was never the theft. It was the evidence. April called me that night. "Cindy, I didn't know. I swear. I thought I'd only borrowed like 500 total. It's really 3,240? Her voice was cracked, ashamed. "It is," I said flatly. "I'll pay you back. Every cent. I'll start with 100 a month." I cut her off. "April, don't. Consider it forgiven. Merry Christmas." She started crying. "You don't have to do that." And I said something I didn't even expect. "I know, but I'm tired. It's not about the money. It never was. It's about respect. And you're the only one who had the guts to ask if it was true instead of calling me crazy." In mid-March, I got an email that changed my entire perspective. Subject line, I did the math. Sender, Uncle Kevin, Aunt Carol's husband, the family accountant. "Cindy, Carol showed me your spreadsheet. I hope you don't mind, but I looked over it professionally. If you had invested those $89,340 in a basic index fund over these 7 years, with an average market return, you'd have around $142,000 today. You didn't just lose $89K. You lost your financial future. I'm sorry for what they did to you." I read that email sitting at the kitchen table, coffee going cold in front of me. $142,000. A house, early retirement, security, dignity. And I'd traded it all for, what? The illusion of belonging to a family that never saw me as an equal. I cried reading that email, but it wasn't sadness. It was validation. Someone finally understood. The revenge I didn't even know I was seeking came in the form of a 58-year-old man with an Excel spreadsheet, showing me in cold numbers the price of my invisibility. Uncle Kevin didn't stop there. April sent me more screenshots. He had gone into the family group chat and dropped a bomb. I just reviewed Cindy's financial documentation as a professional. Every transaction is legitimate and traceable. She subsidized this family for 7 years while living below her means. Meanwhile, Cassidy posted 6 vacations in 3 years. You bought a $38K SUV in 2021. The parents renovated their kitchen in 2022. Roger bought a boat in 2020. All while Cindy drove a car with 180,000 miles and worked double shifts. She asked for help, once, for surgery. You said no. You should be ashamed. Then he left the group immediately. No replies, no debate. Just dropped the truth right there, bleeding in the middle of the virtual room. The family split in 2 that day. On one side, Team Cassidy, mostly my mom's side, preaching family helps family. On the other, the silent ones. The ones who stopped showing up to Sunday lunches, who disappeared from parties, who didn't pick sides but made it clear they were ashamed. And then there was my team. Small, but real. April started sending me $100 a month, religiously. She didn't have to. I'd forgiven her debt. But she insisted. It's not about the money, Cindy. It's about character. And I want you to know I have some. Aunt Carol would text me sometimes, just checking in, sending dumb memes. Nothing deep, just presence. Uncle Kevin added me on LinkedIn and left a recommendation. Cindy is one of the most honorable people I know, character above all. Small gestures, but they weighed more than 7 years of leeches disguised as family. I learned something priceless. Blood family traps you, chosen family frees you. And for the first time, I had a choice. I didn't have to settle for crumbs of affection in exchange for $100 bills. I could simply exist. No maintenance fee attached. April 12th, my 35th birthday. I was making a simple dinner, pasta with sauce, nothing fancy, when someone knocked on the door. I looked through the peephole. My mother, holding a cake. My heart raced. That conditioned reflex of a daughter still craving approval after everything. I opened the door but kept the chain on. Cindy, happy birthday, sweetheart. I brought your favorite, red velvet cake. Can I come in? Her voice was sweet, that loving mom tone she used when she wanted something. How did you get into the building? I asked, not removing the chain. The doorman remembered me from when I helped you move in. Honey, please. Let's talk. Against every instinct, I unlatched the chain. Let her in. Biggest mistake in 4 months. She set the cake on the counter, hugged me, started crying. I'm so sorry, my love. I was upset. I didn't mean those things. You're my daughter. I love you. You said I was dead to you. My voice came out steady, emotionless. She wiped her tears, sat on my couch like it was hers. I was angry. You blindsided us at Christmas in front of everyone. I defended myself after being called a leech in front of 31 people. Silence. She sighed, switched tactics. All right. You're right. I should have defended you. I'm sorry. I waited, because I knew there was more. And there was. Cindy, Cassidy's going through a really hard time. Jake lost his job. They might lose the house. The kids. There it was. The real reason. You came here, on my birthday, with a cake, to ask me for money. For Cassidy. It's not for me. It's for your sister. For your nephews. Just $2,000 to cover the missed mortgage payment. I stood up. Get out. Cindy, get out of my house. She grabbed her purse, offended, that misunderstood victim face. At the door, she turned back. You've changed. You used to care about family. And I said something I'd rehearsed without realizing. No, Mom. I used to be convenient. There's a difference. Door closed. The next day I changed the locks, threw the cake away without a bite. The sweetest revenge I've ever tasted was that $40 cake in the trash, untouched, wasted, just like the 7 years of my life they wasted. June felt like rebirth. 6 months since that Christmas. My savings account had $14,300, more than I'd saved in 7 years of carrying everyone else. I bought a car, a 2020 Honda, 45,000 miles, no weird noises, no check engine light. I cried the first time I drove it, cried because it was mine, paid for by me. No favors owed. I started therapy. $75 a session, worth every penny. My therapist said something that broke me. Cindy, you weren't the responsible daughter. You were the parentified child. Children aren't supposed to be their parents' bank. I was 34, realizing my whole childhood had been training to be used. I joined a local library book club. Tuesday nights. 8 women. Cheap coffee. Real conversations. Nobody asked for money. Nobody judged me. One woman, Patricia, 60, told me, I spent 30 years being my family's doormat. Setting myself free was the best thing I ever did. You'll see. And she was right. Because for the first time in 3 decades, I was building something no one could ever take from me. Myself. January came. On the 8th, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered out of habit, nurse reflex in case it was the hospital. Cindy, thank God. I changed my number. I knew you'd blocked me. It was Cassidy. Her voice was desperate, words tumbling out fast. My car broke down, the transmission. The mechanic says it's $2,400 to fix. Jake's been out of work since before Christmas. It's temporary, but we don't have the money right now, and I need the car for the kids. I let her talk. Didn't interrupt. When she stopped to breathe, I said, calm as ever, call your insurance. Silence. The insurance doesn't cover mechanical failure. Cindy, please, I'll pay you back. So I asked the question she didn't want to hear. How? How are you going to pay me back when you still owe me $52,800? The silence on the other end was so deep I could hear her breathing. That's what I thought. Good luck, Cassidy. I hung up, blocked the new number. My hands were shaking, but it was adrenaline, not fear. 2 weeks later, my dad called, also from a new number. They'd clearly coordinated. Cindy, the power got cut off. We're 2 months behind. It's $340. I know things are tight, but I didn't let him finish. Where's Cassidy? Pause. She can't help right now. Neither can I. You have 30 relatives. Call them. Cindy, we're your parents. And the words just came out, unfiltered, painless. You disowned me, remember? Mom said I was dead to her. Dead daughters don't pay electric bills. And before he could respond, I added, actually, did I die owing you or do you still owe me? Because by my math, you owe me $28,000. So technically, I should be the one calling you. I hung up, blocked him, took a deep breath. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. The universe's revenge doesn't need my help. They built their own pit. I just stopped being the bridge. February brought something unexpected. Digital silence from Cassidy. Her Instagram, normally updated 3 times a day, went dark. No breakfast pics, no selfies, no blessed. Then, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, she posted, sometimes life brings challenges. We're selling our car to simplify and focus on what truly matters. New adventures ahead. Translation: the transmission never got fixed. They sold the broken car for scrap. My Aunt Carol, never one to miss a jab, commented, maybe call your sister? Cassidy deleted the comment within 3 minutes, then deleted the whole post. In March, a new post. With heavy hearts, we're postponing our Disney trip. Family comes first, and we're focusing on what's essential. The trip. The same one she'd bragged about on Christmas, glowing with pride. The comments were brutal. Someone wrote, focusing on what's essential, found out Cindy's not paying anymore. Cassidy turned off comments. 2 days later, she deactivated her whole account. Her perfect life was over. Not because I destroyed it, but because I stopped funding the lie. 4th of July weekend, I did something the old Cindy would have never dared to do. I took my new car and drove by myself to Savannah, Georgia. No heads up, no asking for permission, because adults don't need permission to live. I booked a real hotel, not one of those cheap motels that smell like mold. Clean sheets, breakfast included, a pool I actually used. I walked through the historic streets, those with cobblestones and big trees draped in Spanish moss. Ate at actual restaurants, not fast food. Bought a hardcover book from a local bookstore. Expensive, beautiful. I spent $800 that weekend. The old Cindy would have felt guilty about every dollar. The new Cindy? She felt free. Because for the first time, I wasn't saving money for someone else's emergency. I was spending it on my own life. And you know what I found out? Living your truth costs less than financing other people's lies. The subtlest revenge is simply being happy when everyone expects you to be broken. I didn't spy on my family. I'd blocked everyone, deleted social media, moved on. But April kept me updated. Not out of gossip, but out of care. I just want you to know what's going on, in case they try to manipulate you again, she'd say. The updates came in small doses, like bitter medicine you take to heal. Cassidy found a job, part-time at Target, the same Target where her card got declined 7 years ago, the place where this whole story began. The irony was so perfect it felt scripted. Jake was back working too. Construction, up at 5 every morning. They moved out, left the house with the backyard and went to a 2-bedroom apartment. Sold a bunch of stuff. The kids were fine, because kids are resilient. They adapt. Cassidy shut down her Instagram. Not deleted, private, no new posts. That perfect life became an archived file. She'd become normal. And maybe, just maybe, that was the best thing that could have happened to her. My parents sold the house in August. That big 4-bedroom house with a yard, where we had Christmas every year. They bought a 2-bedroom apartment in a retirement complex. Told the neighbors it was planned downsizing, that they wanted to simplify. The truth? They couldn't afford it anymore. The kitchen remodel they did in 2022, with the money they didn't have when I needed surgery, at least helped with the sale, so there was that. They were fine, had their retirement, not starving or anything dramatic, just living within their real means, without using me as their secret credit card. In September, I found a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten envelope, my dad's handwriting. My heart raced. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity won. Cindy, we don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But we want you to know. You were right. We took advantage of your kindness and called it love. We see that now. We hope that one day you can be part of this family again. But we understand if you can't. With love, Dad. I read it 3 times. Put it in a drawer. Didn't respond. Maybe one day I will. Maybe not. And it's okay not to know. Christmas Eve, 2024. Exactly 1 year since my world exploded at that dinner table. My book club decided to throw a little get-together, half Friendsgiving, half Christmas, half excuse to eat and drink cheap wine. Patricia hosted it. Everyone brought a dish. I made lasagna, nothing fancy, but made with care, something I hadn't done in years. 8 women, different ages, different stories, but all with that one thing in common. We chose to be there. No one was an obligation. Patricia raised her glass and said, "To the family we choose, the family we decide to have." Everyone toasted, laughed, and someone asked, "Cindy, are you spending Christmas with family tomorrow?" I looked around that table. These women who'd only known me for 6 months, but showed up when I needed friendship. Who never asked for anything more than for me to bring a salad or dessert. Who accepted me, no fees, no guilt, no emotional debt. "Yes," I said, smiling for real. "I am." Driving home that night, I thought about the Christmas before. The humiliation, the anger. My mother yelling that I was dead to her. And I realized something important. I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them. The family I deserved. The one I imagined I had. But the reality? The Sundays pretending everything was fine while they drained me? The emergency calls only when they needed money? The silence when I needed help? No, I didn't miss any of that. I lost $89,340. I lost my parents. I lost my sister. I lost family traditions, Sunday lunches, family photos. But I gained something money could never buy back. My dignity, my peace, my life. My life, not the leftovers after funding everyone else's. And for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't waiting for the phone to ring with another crisis. I was just living. The revenge the universe gave me wasn't seeing them suffer. It was seeing myself free. Today, I'm 35. I drive a reliable car. I have $18,000 in savings, and it's growing. I have real friends who care about me, not my wallet. My apartment has plants now. Small thing, but it means I'm planning for the future, that I'll be here to water them. I've started making plans. Maybe a bigger trip next year. Maybe an online course. Maybe adopting a dog. Simple things normal people do. But for me, they're a revolution. Because for the first time, my money is mine. My time is mine. My emotional energy is mine. No one's calling me at 11 p.m. for an emergency. No one's making me feel guilty for saving $50. No one's calling me selfish for finally choosing myself. If you're hearing this and see yourself in my story, if you're the emotional ATM of your family, the dependable one who never gets anything back, I want you to know, it's not selfish to have boundaries. It's survival. And you deserve more than crumbs disguised as love. So what do you do when you realize the family you loved never loved you the same way? When you understand you weren't a daughter, you were a bank? When you see that 7 years of your life and almost $90,000 were invested in a lie called family helps family? You do what I did. You choose yourself. For the first time. Without guilt. Without apologies. Without waiting for anyone's permission to live your own life. And you know what I found on the other side of that decision? That peace is worth more than approval. That chosen solitude is better than toxic company. That there's a difference between being alone and being free. And I finally understood which one I wanted. The revenge I didn't even know I was seeking didn't come from destroying anyone. It came from rebuilding myself. Because when you stop being a bridge for people who only want to cross, you finally have solid ground to build something of your own. Now I want you to stop and think with me. Who's the bank in your family? Is it you? The one who always fixes everything, always helps, never says no because you were trained your whole life to believe that love means endless sacrifice? If you saw yourself anywhere in this story, if your stomach tightened when I mentioned the surgery, if you felt anger when my sister humiliated me, if you thought, I know that pain, then this message is for you. You don't owe your life to anyone. Not your parents, not your siblings, not that distant cousin who only shows up when they need something. Real family doesn't make you choose between your dignity and belonging. Real family celebrates when you grow. They don't drag you down to feel better about themselves. And if your family doesn't do that, then maybe it's time to find one that does. Because chosen family isn't betrayal. It's survival. Now I want to hear from you. When did you realize you were being used? Was it something someone said? An absurd request? Or the silence when you were the one in need? Tell me in the comments. You don't need to name names. You don't even need to explain. Just let it out. Because I promise you, you're not alone. There are thousands of people watching this right now who know exactly what you've been through. And you know what happens when we talk about it? We take away the power of guilt. We realize the problem was never us. It was the people who took advantage of our kindness and called it weakness. So go ahead. Write in the comments. I was the family's bank too. Let's start a wave of people who decided enough is enough. Who decided they deserve more. Who decided that real revenge is living well despite those who tried to break you. And if this story touched you in any way, if you laughed, cried, felt anger, relief, or hope, do one thing for me. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell. Why? Because every week, I share real stories of people who were underestimated, stepped on, ignored, and still rose above it all. People who turned pain into power. People who proved you don't have to be cruel to be strong. You just have to be brave enough to say no more. Share this video with someone you know needs to hear this. That friend who keeps complaining about family but can't break free. That cousin who's always paying everyone's bills. Send it to them. Because sometimes it takes seeing someone else's story to finally understand your own. And maybe, just maybe, this video is the push someone needs to finally choose peace. One last thing. I want you to know it doesn't matter how long it took you to realize it. It doesn't matter how many years you lost. It doesn't matter how much money you'll never get back. What matters is what you do now, today, this moment. You can keep being the emotional ATM for people who don't value you, or you can start investing in yourself, in your peace, your mental health, your bank account, your life. I chose the second option. It took me 34 years and $89,000 to learn, but I did. And now I sleep peacefully. I don't wait for emergency calls anymore. My heart doesn't race when the phone rings. I don't feel guilty for spending $15 on myself. I'm free. And you can be too. The question is, are you ready for that? Because the sweetest, most complete, most devastating revenge you can ever have is simply living well, living in peace, living for you. See you in the next video. And remember, you're not selfish. You're human, and you deserve more.